You may take your seats. Sing a song of faith that the gospel has brought us. Sing a song full of hope that the presence has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our day, let us who are calm feel victory is won. Good morning and welcome to Talladega College annual Holy Convocation Constitutional Day. We are grateful for your presence, whether you are here in the chapel or visiting us online. I am Dr. Edward Carlos, Vice President of Academic Affairs. It is my pleasure to preside over today's program. Convocation means to be called together. Today, we are called together to signal the beginning of a new academic year. It is an opportunity to declare a new beginning for each of us and be drawn together under the underscores and purpose of expectation of a great academic life, and to honor those among us, students, faculty, staff, and community, whose achievements inspire us. Before we move forward with our program as outlined, we are delighted to welcome our new and returning students to the 24-25 academic year, and we're glad that you chose your academic career here at Talladega College. We also welcome our administrators, faculty, staff, and everyone else who is here this morning. There are some special guests who are in the audience, and we need to take a moment to recognize them. Well, alumni of Talladega College who are present, please stand. Any elected officials present, please stand and be recognized. Our Honorable Representative Barbara Boyd and our guest speaker will get to you. I didn't overlook you. Faculty, please stand and be recognized. Thank each of you for being here. Now, please join me in welcoming Mr. Kyle Horn, Jr., Mr. Talladega College 24-25 to the podium.
Good morning. Would you all please stand if you are able for the invocation? Let us pray. Who is like you, God, who is holy and loving like you, the source of all blessings? We desire your presence here among us as we celebrate the opening of a new academic year. We celebrate the capacity for creativity, for critical thinking, and for focused effort. You, oh God, are the source of inspiration, the spark that urges us onto excellence. We thank you for this college, its administrators, faculty, staff, students, and alumni. We thank you for an educational opportunity that transforms minds and hearts. We thank you for families that offer emotional, financial, and spiritual support. We thank you for a surrounding community and friends of the college who both labor and celebrate with us. For these many things and more, we say thank you. Amen.
Ms. Jessica Bocage, Ms. Talladega 2425 will provide the welcome.
A pleasant good morning. I am Jaleesa Bocage, a senior business administration major with concentrations in accounting and finance and banking here at Talladega College, and I proudly serve as the 89th Miss Talladega College. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the 2024 opening Convocation and Constitution Day observance. Today begins a new adventure and the start of an exciting new school year. With every new day, Talladega College will teach you to take what you have and make what you want. With each new day, we have an opportunity to seek knowledge. We have a new opportunity to challenge beliefs in a way that does not change our values, but in a way that deepens how we understand ourselves and our place in the world. May we use this year as a year of growth and development. Let us learn more about ourselves, each other, and our beloved Talladega College. This year, let's support one another as we pursue our goals and work to make Talladega College even stronger as an institution. We are Dega Strong, Dega Proud. Let's show the world our dear old Talladega pride. Again, good morning and welcome to the Alpha Laura Vega of them all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Horn, for praying our invocation, and Ms. Bocage for your eloquent welcome. We look forward to your leadership this year as Mr. and Mrs. Talladega College. We will now have Assistant Professor Dr. Wu with a piano selection. Thank you, Dr. Wu. Let's give her another round of applause. Each year, we observe the origin of the U.S. Constitution and its significance to our country and to the people in the United States. This morning, Ms. Maya Towns, a senior business administration major with a concentration in management, will share some highlights of this observance. Let's welcome Ms. Towns to the podium.
Hello, good morning. Constitution Day recognizes the signing of the United States Constitution and those who have become U.S. citizens. Since 2004, all constitutions receiving federal funding have a requirement to observe Constitution Day. On September 17, 1787, delegates to the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia met for the final time to officially sign the document they have created. Originally, the U.S. Constitution was comprised of 7 articles that outlined the structure of the federal government and the rights of the states. Over time, this living document has evolved to include 27 amendments. Several define the individual rights of citizens, including the abolishment of slavery, freedom of speech, and the right to vote, to name a few. The U.S. Constitution is the world's longest surviving written charter of government. Today, Talladega College recognizes and acknowledges Constitution Day and encourages each of us to reflect on the rights and responsibilities espoused in the document. And while there exists great doubt about time of this content, we know that the Constitution has tested our nation during periods of enslavement, women's rights, voters' rights, civil rights, and civilians' rights. Today, on this Constitution Day, we reflect on the founding document, which in the beginning denied some groups their rights, personhood, and today, it is a tool to redefine American democracy and fully realize the promise of representative government. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Towns, for enlightening us on Constitution Day. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men, women, boys, girls, people of color, other are welcomed in this United States of America. Thank you, Ms. Towns. Please join me in welcoming to the podium Ms. Rhonda Worthy, a junior business administration major, and she will introduce our speaker. Ms. Worthy.
Good morning. Our speaker today is the Honorable Rolanda Hollis, a member of the Alabama State House of Representatives, representing District 58, a role she has held since 2017. Within the Alabama State House, she serves as the ranking minority on the Economic and Development Committee, the Transportation, Utilities, and Infrastructure Committee, the Joint Transportation Committee, and the Ports Committee. Representative Hollis has sponsored legislation such as HB 50, requiring schools to provide free feminine hygiene products for students, HB 230, prohibits shackling of pregnant inmates and other practices regarding the treatment of female inmates that could endanger them or their child's health during pregnancy and postpartum, and HB 3, a smoking ban which prohibits adults from smoking in an automobile with children 14 years and younger, just to name a few. Most recently, Representative Hollis was elected as the first woman to serve as vice chair of the Jefferson County Legislative Delegation, the top Democratic position in the state's largest county delegation. In addition, her legislative work, Representative Hollis is a real estate broker with more than a decade of experience in real estate and business. Representative Hollis personifies cultivating and encouraging high scholastic and ethical standards, as she is an advocate who studies and helps to alleviate problems concerning girls and women to improve their social stature. For her work, she is the recipient of several awards and recognitions for her civic and community efforts. She embodies the idea of soaring to greater heights of service and sisterhood. Please join me in a warm Talladega College welcome for our speaker in my soror, the Honorable Rolanda Hollis.
Thank you, Sarah Rhonda. Good morning. Good morning. I know it's raining outside, but just give me a little love out there. Okay. I want to thank you so much for giving me the privilege to make a few remarks as we celebrate and honor the enduring legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I would particularly like to acknowledge and thank Dr. Walter Kimbrough, Senator Rod Stewart. I don't know if he's here or not. Rob Stewart, Dr. Walter Hill, and I cannot miss and not acknowledge my colleague, Dr. Barbara Boyd, who's also my soror. And to all of the other distinguished guests, and to the most important people that's on the stage today is the students that we have in the audience. And all of those that's diligent and that's been here, and to make this a special day of a remembrance and inspiration and a celebration. As I thought about Dr. King's many contributions to the nonviolent fight of freedom, equality, and self-determination, I went back over his legacy of activism from the Montgomery bus boycott in 1955 to the movement for desegregation in Albany, Georgia in 1961, and to his 1963 March on Washington. I reflected on his moral and spiritual opposition of the Vietnam War, and I thought about the Poor People's Campaign in 1968 when Dr. King traveled the country to assemble a multicultural army of the poor that would march on Washington to engage in nonviolent civic disobedience at the Capitol until Congress created an economic bill of rights for poor Americans. While I thought about these historical and powerful events that changed the course of American history, I remember that Dr. King's fourth and final book was entitled, "Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos of Community." And I'm gonna say it again. There was his final book that entitled, "Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community?" Ironically, without consciously realizing its connection to Dr. King, the question of chaos or community was salient and prominent during this last election cycle in Alabama, and certainly a topic in the upcoming presidential election. In his seminal and pathetic book, Dr. King reflects on the successes and challenges of the civil rights movement to renew his call for unity, to eradicate poverty, and to create equal opportunities for all people, At the time, many of his views on wealth disparity and systematic inequality were heavily criticized, particularly his controversial ideas to revolutionize the welfare state by providing a guaranteed minimum income. The fact that we are still considering and debating these issues today is a powerful testament of his long-lasting legacy and brilliance. Indeed, his words are powerfully relevant today as we ask the simple but fundamental questions: where do we go from here? Chaos or community? To frame this important question in a modern Alabama context, we could ask ourselves, does having permitless concealed guns on our streets bring us chaos and unintended consequences, or does it bring us closer together as a community? As Dr. King once noted, I was much more afraid in Montgomery when I had a gun in my house. When I decided that I couldn't keep a gun, I came face to face with the question of death, and I dealt with it. From this point on, I no longer needed a gun, nor have I been afraid. Had we become distracted by the question of my safety, we would have lost the moral offensive and sunk to the level of our oppressors. Of course, this frame can be used to analyze a variety of issues, and I thought I had a loud mouth. Okay, thank you. For instance, do things like grocery and gas taxes help the struggling families to do that simply create more economic uncertainty or fear? How does an abortion ban with no exceptions for rape or incest create a stronger community? By using Dr. King's question as a moral compass to better understand the issues that we face, we can gain better clarity and insight into how our publicly policy decisions either create chaos or enable us to build thriving, healthy communities. With these thoughts foremost in my mind as we prepare for the 2025 legislative session, I believe that we must look at each piece of proposed legislation through this lens. Too often, we attempt to quickly solve problems without considering the amount of chaos the solution itself might unleash. Or as has been said, sometimes the cure can be more harmful than the disease. So as we ask, where do we go from here? I hope that we will continue to reject the destructive forces of chaos and instead embrace the wholesome concept of community. In fact, asking that very question implies that a deliberate choice must be made and that we commit ourselves to a course of action. For example, that's why we continue to fight for universal access to affordable health care and why we fight so hard to protect and improve public education. We do these things because they make our community healthier and smarter. It's why we still march to defend our right to vote and why we will continue to protest the unlawful acts of law enforcement that tragically ended the life of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and so many others. We know that when we are united as an inclusive and diverse community, that we can eradicate the chaos of inequality and the curse of disenfranchisement. To me, that is the answer to the question, where do we go from here? We march together with renewed determination, hope, and purpose toward that fabled mountaintop that Dr. King envisioned. We must continue to examine our choices to determine if they are helping us build strong, lasting communities or leading us toward more chaos and inequality. Ultimately, this is why we celebrate the momentous life and timeless legacy of Dr. King. His thoughtfulness, chosen words still ring true today of his renaissance voice will remain a powerful inspiration and rallying cry for future generations. Dr. King has helped me decide where we go from here, and I know in my heart that the journey may be difficult or long, but we will overcome whatever blocks our path, that we will get there together. But for my part, I choose community because Dr. King said it's best when we observe whatever affects one's directly affects and indirectly. And I stayed on script, but I'm gonna go off script. And I did get permission from Dr. Kimbrell. And a few things that I want to say to my young brothers and sisters, and even the faculty and staff, this panel, and the visiting parents that I saw some earlier. Now, I'm known as straight talk, so I'm not going to bite my tongue. Dr. Boyd knows on this issue, I fuss about this all the time. There's nothing, I love everybody. I have nothing against my white young brothers and sisters. But right now, I'm finna talk to the Black people. We are Black people. Black people. We as Black people have so many names, from Negro, African American, Afro American, the N word. Dr. Boyd, they come up with one every session, ethnic minority. And just last session, it was racial minority. Because I asked the question, excuse my language, what the hell is that? Because I know who I am, what I am, and where I come from. Earlier, Ms. Talladega stated, she said, to know ourselves. You need to know who and what you are. If your mom or dad is not African, you are Black. If you were not born in Africa, you're Black. We have so many businesses, and one day, all of you or some of you will become entrepreneurs as myself. And when you become entrepreneurs, you get opportunities to bid on contracts for work. And when you bid on these contracts, they said that they want a minority to apply for the bid. But have you ever looked up the definition of minority? Minority can be the white woman. It can be an Asian person. It can be a Hawaiian person. And my thing is, if you want that job for me, let it be for me. I have a good friend of mine that he's very high up in Wells Fargo in Las Vegas, Nevada. And he and I had this conversation, and he called me one day and he said, sis, you're right. He said, we was forming a new commission, and our folks kept saying, we need an African-American. We need an African-American. Make sure that we have an African-American on this commission. And he said, we did get an African-American on this commission, but guess what? I said, what? He said he was white African. There was nothing could be done because that's what they asked for. So I say all this it starts with us to start saying who and what we are, because every year we get a new name. And we have to start standing on who we are. Now that I went on that tangent, I hope I see a lot of young faces in here, Dr. Kimbrough. And I hope that it is something arranged that's called voter registration. Because you have kids out there that's going to need a change of address. And this is one of the most important elections that we have ever had. And I'm talking to each and every one of you. I don't care what color you are. We have a lot at stake. And I want you to think about everything that was said earlier. But I always remember we need to vote for freedom. Freedom. The late John Lewis stated that the most powerful and non-violence tool that we have is your vote. I'm going to repeat this again. The most powerful and non-violence tool that we have is our vote. Your vote does mean something. Your vote do mean something. Your vote will mean something. Your vote is your voice. So November the 5th, I need to see each and every one of you going out there to those polls to voice your vote, because it is important. I'm gonna end it right there because I don't want to get too radical. today. But I just want to say that I am so happy to be here, and I see a lot of already successes in this audience, and I wish you all the best. So thank you, and God bless you.
Representative Hollis, thank you for being here today, and thank you for sharing your message. We wish you all the best and for your continued work in District 58. Let's give our speaker another round of applause. As we near the conclusion of our program, I would like to offer special appreciation to our student ushers and members of the ceremonies committee. Will they please stand? Would all the members of the graduating class of 2025 please stand and be recognized? All right, stay on track because I don't want to have to take your name off the pre-program. Would our junior class representatives please stand? Any juniors in the house? Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Any sophomores in the house? Please stand and be recognized. You got a few more days, weary days. And let's welcome to the family our freshman class. Would they please stand? It's only just begun. Again, give yourselves a round of applause for being here today. At this time, we will have a special presentation and closing remarks. Please join me in welcoming to the podium the interim president of Talladega College, Dr. Walter Kimbrough.
Good morning. All right, just one more time. Good morning. All right, thank you. At this time, I would like to invite members of the Chi chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and I am required by my wife to remind you that that is her chapter, so I need to put that in there so I can eventually go back home. But if the members of the Chi chapter will come toward the stage and make a special presentation at this time.
Representative Hollis, on the behalf of the Chi chapter, we would like to present you this gift.
All right, Representative Hollis, one more presentation for you on behalf of Talladega College for your presentation today for our opening convocation and Constitution Day observance. I was thinking as she was presenting and she talked about Martin Luther King Jr.'s book, Where Do We Go From Here, published in 1967. And King really was, I think, a master of using the Constitution and holding the country liable for what the Constitution said it was about. And I think there are lots of lessons you can learn from how King masterfully used the Constitution to create a lot of change in our country. So as she talked about him as that vehicle for change, I thought about that book, the book that the last line of the book says, either we learn to live together as brothers or we die together as fools. very powerful words from that book. So it's probably required reading. I would encourage every student here to read that book just to get that insight in terms of what was done. But so I want to thank Representative Hollis for her words. And on behalf of the Talladega College community, we'd like to present you with this gift. We're going to slide over so I can get both of them. You got it. As we prepare to close, I want to make sure I share this information with you. This morning, the United Negro College Fund, UNCF, and we're one of 37 UNCF member institutions, they released their most recent economic impact study. I heard in the bio for our guest speaker that she's the leader on the economic development or some related committee within the House. So I'm sure she'll be interested in this. But they do this study. The last one was done in 2017. The new study came out today, and it talked about the economic impact. So you can go on the website, and I'm gonna make sure I send this out to everybody today because I want you to go through that site to see it. But it tells you what's the impact of having a Talladega College. Why is Talladega important? Why are the HBCUs in the state of Alabama important? Why are the HBCUs important in the United States of America? But it also talks about what should we be talking about as we go into this election season. And so it really talks about what are the HBCU issues that we should be thinking about when we ask all the candidates, and not just at the presidential level, because you can vote for a president, but if they don't have the House and the Senate to move their agenda, you don't have anything. And there are too many folks who get caught up in who is the president. You have to vote for everybody, people who will support your agenda. So as a part of this, they're letting you know, here are some of the issues. The allocation of Title III funding. Title III supports things like the library, like information technology. A lot of you who serve as tutors and peer advisors, you get money from Title III. So we want to increase that, and President Biden has increased that a number of times in all 4 of his budgets. I'm reviewing his latest budget right now. So those kinds of things are happening. Support of debt-free funding, so ways that institutions can borrow money without debt, so it doesn't increase the cost for everyone else. Security grants. I don't know if a few years ago there were, if you remember the news, there were a number of bomb threats at HBCUs. I don't know if y'all had one. We had one at Dillard. And so those are the kind of things they provided additional funds for us to beef up security on our campuses. So that's one of the things they're talking about. How many of you know? How many of you receive a federal Pell Grant? Raise your hand. It really should be more hands than that, because really like 70+% of students receive Pell Grants, okay? So you might not know you receive a Pell Grant. You might want to check and say, do I receive it? It's federal money, okay? UNCF for years has been pushing to double that grant to be over $13,000. Now maybe y'all don't need another $6,500 to help pay your bills, okay? But that should be like one of the #1 issues on this campus for students to say, are you going to vote to support us increasing the federal Pell Grant? That's one of our issues as well. So what it does is, on this site, you'll see, we created this template several years ago when we were trying to get the Future Act passed, that you can go in, you can send an email to your representative, your senator from your state, by just typing in some information and saying, please support these HBCU initiatives. It doesn't cost you anything, but it helps when we have more and more people who are asking members of Congress, hey, I'm a student at Talladega College. Here are some of the things that would be beneficial to us as students and to our college. We have to be engaged in the process. If people in legislation never hear from us, they don't feel like they need to meet our needs. Because it's like, well, y'all not engaged, so I don't need to respond to you. But this is an easy, free way for us to do this. So I'll send that information out, but I want you to be engaged in part of the process as we talk about the Constitution and everything that has to be done. This is an active part of the process. As the representative said, and she quotes John Lewis, who talked about this, to say, this is one of our most powerful tools that we have that a lot of times we just leave on the table. Okay, John Lewis, very important figure. I saw one of the slides, the person who holds John Lewis's seat Nikema Williams is also a graduate of Talladega College. She is chairing the legislative group for the Democrats in the state of Georgia. That's our person. That's our person. You see her on TV a lot. You should be proud to say, I know I can do this because Nikema Williams is one of us. She's one of our people. But we have to help give her the tools because she's playing an even bigger role in the administration. She's a surrogate for Vice President Harris. So if Vice President Harris wins, we have somebody who's really high connected that can help us. So we got to think about that. Who has our interests? So we have to ask all of the candidates, not who we just think supports us, but we need to ask them, what are you going to do to support our needs? Like I said, if you don't vote for anything else, you need to be saying, who's going to help me double my Pell Grant? If you don't ask for nothing else, you need to say, who's going to help me double my Pell Grant? Because that's real money. And when I start looking at student loan debt, and you want to get debt forgiven, but you can't get debt forgiven because the Supreme Court got packed by people who not going to help you do that. But that's because we didn't vote down ballot. It's all works together. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? So I want y'all to be engaged in this process, okay? So I had to go off script too, because that was very important. I got a script up here, but they learn it now. I never stay on script, okay? But I think this is important because this is Constitution Day. And part of Constitution Day is understanding how government works. And we need to understand how it works so we can make it work for us, okay? So without everybody good, y'all got that? Okay, very good. We all together. Just reminder tonight, volleyball game is 6. Where are some of the members of the volleyball team? In it? Okay, volleyball, okay. Just let me say this while I have the microphone. Make sure that we're now entering some of these conference opponents. And I talk a lot of trash. So I need y'all to win. So when I see the president of Oakwood next week, I'm dragging him. Okay? And then when we start getting into other competitions, let me just say this publicly. There are 2 schools that y'all have to beat consistently and badly. Philander Smith, where I was president, and Dillard, where I was president. No mercy. No mercy on none of those. Whoever plays them, no mercy. They got to get beat bad. Y'all, do y'all understand that? That's important to me. That's very important to me, okay? I got to beat them. All right, so with all that said, let's prepare for the college's alma mater, which will be led by Dr. Pamela Burns-Bell, Professor of Music. Following the singing of the alma mater, we will receive the benediction from Mr. Horn, and at the conclusion of the benediction, we will ask the audience to remain in your seats and allow the platform party to exit by way of the center aisle. Our ushers will direct the audience after the platform party has exited. So, Dr. Burns-Bell, please come forward for the alma mater. Let us all stand.
Words for our alma mater may be found on the rear of our program. Thank you. There shines upon this nation a college galaxy, like that her constellation hung in our northern skies, with stars of magnitude both great and small. But proud old Talladega is Alpha Lord of Eagle,
Let us pray. Let us pray. May the strength of God sustain us. May the power of God preserve us. May the hands of God protect us. May the way of God direct us. May the love of God go with us day and forever. Amen.